I pressed my palm flat against Mom's hand, surprised at how cold it felt despite the layers of blankets tucked around her frail form. The rhythmic hiss of the ventilator was the only steady sound in the room, a mechanical heartbeat that echoed my own ragged breathing. Outside the glass walls, pale morning light filtered in through slatted blinds, painting the linoleum in stripes of cool gray and gold. I blinked back tears and leaned closer, willing her eyelids to flutter, willing her lips to part in her soft, familiar whisper. "I'm here," I mouthed, though she couldn't hear me. "I'm right here." When I first arrived last night, the room had been full. My father, cheeks hollow with shock, clung to her bedside. My sister Marissa hovered by the doorway, phone pressed to her ear as she barked into the receiver. Aunt Elaine flitted in and out, offering tissues and half-sipped mugs of herbal tea. Cousins, friends, old neighbors. Everyone who'd ever whispered condolences or laughed at Mom's jokes during birthdays. It had felt like a family reunion orchestrated by grief. But hospitals have a way of luring people away, one chair at a time. My father slipped out to make breakfast for my sister. Marissa retreated to the corridor for a quiet moment and never returned. Aunt Elaine's whispered tears turned to sniffling down the hall. Now, when I dared to look around, I was alone, except for the monitors and a single nurse whose back was turned as she typed on a clipboard. I searched the bed for the small glass locket I'd placed on her pillow before I left work yesterday. It held my childhood photo, a snapshot of me in pigtails on the front porch, Mom's arms wrapped around me, both of us smiling in the sun. It was my talisman, proof that love could outlast death. But now I couldn't find it. Had I dreamt it? Had I imagined it? My throat caught. I rose and took a careful step toward the nurse's station in the corner. She looked up as I approached, her eyes tired but warm. "Are you okay?" she asked, voice hushed. I swallowed. I think so. Can you tell me when the doctor will come?" My voice came out scratchy. She folded her arms, pausing before she answered. "He's with another patient right now. Should be here in an hour or so." An hour. My chest tightened. I stopped myself. What was I supposed to say? "I need to know if it's time." She gave me a sympathetic nod. "Right now, she's stable. That can change at any moment." She tapped the clipboard. "Your name is Sarah Magnuson?" I flinched at the sound of my name in her professional tone. "Yes, I'm Nurse Cunningham." She slipped the clipboard aside. "I've seen a lot of families in these rooms. Some say their goodbyes and never look back. Some stay until the lights go out." She tilted her head toward Mom. "It's up to you how you say goodbye." I blinked. The words set loose a whirlwind inside me. I had already said goodbye over and over in my head, like a prayer. "Don't leave me, Mom." I tried to remember her smell, lavender and vanilla, the promise of home. I tried to recall her laugh, that musical trill that made grocery store clerks smile. I tried to summon every story she ever told, every bedtime hushed promise. But my chest ached with a hollowness that memories couldn't fill. "I want to stay," I whispered. She gave me a small, encouraging smile. "You're not alone. I'll be right here if you need me." Her blue scrub top faded into the background as she slipped out the door, clipboard tucked under her arm, footsteps soft on the sterile floor. I returned to the bedside and closed my eyes against the surge of emotions. Memories flickered. Mom teaching me to ride my bike on a dew-slick lawn, her hands steady on the back of the seat until I caught the balance. The smell of chocolate chip pancakes on Saturday mornings, her dancing around the kitchen with a spatula as if it were a partner. The quiet tears she wiped from my face when I scraped my knee or broke my heart. She had been my anchor, my safe place. Without her, the world felt unmoored. My phone buzzed, an incoming group text, but I silenced it too quickly to see who sent it. Probably Marissa, updating the group on her moment of silence, or asking if she should pick up bagels. I slid it into my pocket. This vigil was mine alone. When the corridor light shifted and the hush of footsteps approached, I half expected another family member. Instead, Nurse Cunningham returned, carrying a small white envelope. I blinked, startled. "Is she awake?" I asked, heart hammering. The nurse shook her head. "She's still sedated. But this came for you." I stretched out my hand. "For me?" She hesitated, then pressed the envelope into my palm. The paper was thick, slightly textured, with my name spelled out in neat cursive. Beneath it, a scrawled note. "Open, urgent." I frowned. Who? Nurse Cunningham looked at me, concern flickering in her eyes. I didn't open it. This arrived sealed. She nodded toward me. You can take it somewhere private if you like. I clutched the letter, its weight heavier than the locket I'd lost. Every instinct screamed not to open it here, not to break the vigil with intrusion. But my fingers itched to tear it open, to discover its contents, especially if it was urgent. My breath came shallow and fast. She offered me a glass of water, one of those paper cups. I accepted it, drained it, then held the envelope between both hands like a fragile artifact. The room felt smaller, the machines louder, the minutes crawling. I glanced at Mom's face, serene and pale under the hospital-made glow. The letter might hold instructions, confessions, or regrets. It might be from Dad, from Marissa, from a lawyer telling me she'd left her estate in someone else's name. It might be from a stranger. My pulse shot through my ears. A soft knock at the doorframe startled me. Nurse Cunningham hesitated there, waiting. I forced myself to nod. Thank you, I said, voice thin. She drifted back to her station, leaving me with the letter and the slow, persistent hiss of machinery. I moved to the window, cheap blinds filtering the sunshine, and perched on a vinyl chair. With trembling fingers, I broke the thin strip of adhesive, peeled back the flap. Inside lay a single sheet of pale blue stationery, folded once. I unfolded it and squinted at the familiar handwriting. My heart caught in my throat. It was Mom's handwriting. My mother's script, loops and swirls I hadn't seen since I was a child, copying her letters to pen pals in distant towns. My eyes blurred, tears spilled, hot and unbidden, and I bowed my head, letting the paper brush against my cheek. I straightened and read, "My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and the weight of that knowledge breaks me more than words can hold. My time has come, but before I leave, I need to tell you the truths I never found the courage to speak aloud." I pressed a hand to my chest. Truths. I glanced at the ventilator, as if Mom might stir at the word. The sheet crinkled under my grip. I took a breath and read on. You were my first miracle, my brightest hope on the day you arrived, with a full head of dark hair and eyes like river stones. I remember holding you and promising you a world I wasn't sure I could give. Yet here you are, more than I ever dreamed. I paused, the pages trembling. Her voice was still in those words, soft, loving, and undeniably real. She continued, "There's something about our family that I've hidden from you. A legacy of silence I can no longer carry alone. Your grandmother, my mother, before she disappeared when I was 12, left behind a promise and a debt I never paid. It shaped every choice I made, the sacrifices, the guilt, the desperate hope that I could shield you from the past shadow." Questions flooded me. Grandma had vanished the night before my mother's 12th birthday, leaving nothing but an empty house and a mailbox full of unanswered letters. Grandpa, alcohol in hand, had mumbled half explanations and slurred apologies. Mom never spoke of it. I had lived my whole life convinced that grief was all we needed to know. The letter trembled in my lap. As I read her next words, "I owe you more than apologies. Somewhere in our basement, behind the false panel in the old cedar wardrobe, you'll find a small wooden box. Inside is a key that opens a safe deposit box your grandmother left in her will. The contents will explain everything. The company she built, the letters she mailed, the danger she fled. It's time you knew the truth of where we come from and why she left us." Tears blurred the ink. Danger, a hidden company, a grandmother who built something powerful enough to hide behind safes. The weight of it all pressed on my chest. I pressed both palms flat against the letter, as if by physical force I could steady the storm in my mind. Mom's handwriting softened here. "I'm sorry I couldn't be the mother you deserved, but know that my every mistake was for you, for us. I hope this knowledge sets you free, Sarah. Live without fear, unafraid to claim your birthright. I believe in you with all my heart." With eternal love, Mom, I folded the page back into its envelope, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. My gaze shot to the bed where her chest rose and fell in machine-synchronized rhythm. I whispered into her eyelashes, words raw and trembling. "Mom, why did you never tell me?" My voice cracked. "Why did you carry this burden alone?" There was no answer but the steady beep of the monitor and the whisper of my own tears. The old cedar wardrobe, the basement, a safe deposit box. Our grandmother's secret empire, hidden behind a promise so deep that 3 generations had never spoken of it. My mind reeled with possibilities. Fortune, danger, betrayal. I felt the floor tilt and gripped the chair's armrests. I stuffed the letter into my pocket, the words burning against my thigh. Standing, I turned to Nurse Cunningham's station. She looked up. "Everything okay?" I nodded, trying to sound steady. "I need to step out for a moment." She gave me a kind smile. "Take your time." I stepped into the corridor, the lights harsh and flickering. Across the hall, the fridge held sodas and vending machines promised stale snacks. Family photos hung crookedly on the peeling walls. Sunday school pictures from years past. I fumbled in my pocket and pulled out the envelope. I stared at it as if expecting it to change shape, to blur into nonsense. But it was real. I headed for the elevators, my footsteps echoing. My phone pinged another group text, but I ignored it. Marissa wouldn't understand. Dad was already gone. This burden was mine alone, just as Mom had intended. The elevator doors slid open with a ding, and I sprinted inside, clutching the envelope to my chest. The panel of buttons glowed: lobby, floor 5, floor 6. The hospital cafeteria was my destination. Somewhere I could sit, gather my wits, and plan my next move. As the doors closed, I felt a tug of panic. If this letter revealed the existence of a safe deposit box, a company, and Grandma's disappearance, then I was about to step into a mystery decades old. My mother's final gift was a key to a secret locked away in the past, and now, with her gone, it fell to me to uncover that hidden history. The elevator climbed with a soft hum. I pressed my forehead to the cool metal wall and closed my eyes. The air shifted around me, sterile hospital scent mixed with something heavy and ominous, like the world had just tilted on its axis. The doors opened to a brightly lit corridor where no one would notice me, where I could tear open the envelope again, reread her words, and steel myself for what lay ahead. Before I stepped out, I looked back at the sealed envelope, pulled from my mother's trembling hands in her final hours. My life up until this moment had been ordinary. A job I liked, friends who texted, a quiet apartment filled with books and plants. But in one short letter, everything had changed. My heritage, my grandmother's fate, a hidden legacy of power and peril, it all beckoned me forward. I took a deep breath, tightened my fingers around the envelope, and walked out into the bright hospital hallway, determined to find that wardrobe, that box, and the truth it held. The past was waiting, and so was my future. I pushed through the cafeteria doors and was immediately hit by the comforting aroma of fresh coffee and warmed pastry. The chatter of nurses on break, of families picking at sandwiches, felt surreal against the storm raging in my chest. I slipped into a corner booth near the windows, pulled the letter from my pocket, and smoothed the crease where my mother's tear-stained handwriting danced across pale blue paper. My fingers trembled as I read her instructions again. Behind the false panel in the cedar wardrobe in our basement, a wooden box containing a key to Grandma's safe deposit box, along with documents explaining her company, the reason she vanished, and the danger she fled. It felt like reading a treasure map drawn by the woman who had raised me, only instead of gold, the prize was secrets buried for decades. I closed my eyes, remembering that wardrobe, its dark wood carved with fleur-de-lis patterns, its hinges stiff with age, the faint mustiness of mothballs every time my hand brushed the panel. I slid my phone out and typed a quick text to my neighbor Jess. "Emergency. I need your help tonight. Can you meet at my place around 7? I hesitated over pressing send, then did. Jess had a knack for solving puzzles and an uncanny calm in crises. If I needed someone to watch my back, it was her. As I waited for her reply, I scrolled through photos of that cedar wardrobe on my phone, one shot I'd taken last Christmas when I'd stayed home to care for Mom during her last flare-up. Sure enough, I'd captured the corner of the wardrobe leaning against the laundry wall. I studied it. 4 panels, one slightly wider. My heart raced. I shoved the letter into my bag, paid for a lukewarm latte, and headed back upstairs. Each step echoed in the silent hallway, until I found the elevator and rode to the ICU floor. At Nurse Cunningham's station, I cleared my throat. "I'm heading home for a bit," I lied. "I'll come back later." She looked up from her chart. "Do you need anything? Water? Blankets?" I shook my head. "I'm okay. Thank you for everything." She gave me a small, warm smile. "Take your time." Mom's ventilator whirred as I slipped into the room, gave her a quick kiss on the forehead, and left, promising myself I'd be back before sunset. It felt wrong to leave her alone, but I needed to move fast tonight, before anyone else discovered the letter, before Dad changed the locks, before Marissa insisted she handle things her way. If Grandma's legacy lay hidden in my childhood home, I had to claim it first. My car smelled of upholstery and old French fries. I sped home on autopilot, mind racing through deadlines and plot twists. I parked in the driveway just after 6, unlocked the rusted gate that led to the basement entrance, switched on the single bulb overhead, and descended into the murk. The wooden door to the basement was gray with peeling paint. The latch creaked as I opened it, the hinges groaning like an old lullaby. The smell of damp earth and aged pine boards enveloped me. Inside, boxes of forgotten belongings lined the walls, holiday decorations, dust-covered trophies, my father's fishing gear. I flicked on the bare bulb dangling overhead and crossed to the corner where the cedar wardrobe stood like a silent sentinel. My pulse fluttered as I ran a fingertip over the carved patterns. I circled it, searching for a false panel. On the side facing the furnace, one door panel had a subtle seam, an extra line of wood grain misaligned with the others. I pressed the edge. The panel gave way on a click, swinging inward to reveal a narrow cavity. Heart pounding, I pulled out a small wooden box wrapped in a velvet cloth. It was heavier than I expected. The box was unadorned, save for a small brass latch. My hands shook as I unclasped it, and inside lay an aged metal key, a stack of yellowing envelopes, tied with ribbon, and a leather-bound notebook stamped with my grandmother's initials. I gingerly lifted the first envelope. On it, in my grandmother's elegant script, it read, "To my daughter for the day you reclaim your power." I shuffled the others, each labeled for different recipients. To my grandchildren, to the bank manager, to the local historian. My breath caught. Grandma had prepared messages for each of us. I tucked the other letters back and withdrew the key and notebook. The notebook's cover was stiff with time. I opened to the first page and saw a faded photograph of a storefront. Magnuson and Company Exporters. Read the sign above. Below, a date, 1952. Inside, my grandmother's neat handwriting detailed how she'd built a small import-export business, dealing in exotic spices and fabrics, navigating a male-dominated industry by forging alliances with suppliers in remote villages and evading opportunistic rivals. The pages spoke of bribes, forged documents, and even threats on her life. Then suddenly, they ended in mid-sentence, the ink smudged. I flipped further and found a brief letter addressed to Grandma's lawyer, explaining that mounting threats forced her to disappear and place her assets in trust under an alias, with my mother as sole heir, so long as she never spoke of it. My head spun. Danger, power, disappearance. The secrets were darker than I could have imagined. I slipped the notebook into my bag, along with the key. The small clock on the furnace read 6:45. I needed to find someone I could trust. My phone buzzed on my way from Jess. Perfect timing. I raced up the basement stairs and locked the door behind me, heart hammering. Inside the living room, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the worn carpet. I flicked on all the lights and stared at the front door, wondering whether to tell Dad or, no, I couldn't. Not yet. I needed answers before involving the rest of my family in this hidden legacy. I pulled out my laptop, opened a video call window, and dialed Jess. She buzzed in within seconds. Headset askew, background of textbooks and sticky notes behind her. Hey, what's the emergency? I swallowed. I have something you need to see. I showed her the photograph of the storefront and the notebook entries. Her eyes widened. Holy, Sarah, this is huge. Your grandmother went incognito to protect her company and left you a fortune. I shook my head. Not just a fortune. A power network. She was threatened by someone, maybe more than one person. I think someone still wants to find that trust. Jess's face paled. We need to find that safe deposit box right now. You said there was a bank name? I read from the notebook. Trust under alias Evelyn Meyer. Safe deposit box 317. Victoria National Bank. I sank onto the sofa. Box 317 in the old downtown branch. But there's more. She warns that if we open it prematurely, we'll trigger legal contingencies. Someone with power waiting to scoop up assets if my mother or I misstep. Jess ran a hand through her hair. So we need to go prepared and quietly. Do you have any identification for Evelyn Meyer? I shook my head, alarmed. The trust documents probably have it. Those were in the safe deposit box itself. She took a breath. Okay. Then we go in pairs. Me and you, tonight. We'll bring the key and see if we can access it before anyone else knows. If this is real, we need to secure whatever she left. My pulse raced. Tonight? They close at 7. It was already 6:50. I know, Jess said, determination lighting her features. But they have an ATM-like safe deposit kiosk that's open 24 hours for customers with key and credentials. We can try that. Or, if that fails, we'll have to charm the night manager. I nodded, adrenaline surging. Okay, I'll pack. Bring cash in an unmarked envelope. And maybe a burner phone. We shouldn't use ours.
Got it.
She ended the call, and I began stuffing the notebook, key, and the velvet cloth into my bag. My mind tumbled between excitement and fear. Mom had given me the letter so I could carry on Grandma's legacy, but the warnings implied real danger. Criminal interests, old foes, legal traps. If I failed, the entire enterprise could vanish, or worse, someone could come after me. I texted Dad. Got held up. Working on something for Mom's things. We'll check in tomorrow. Then I changed into dark jeans and a zip-up hoodie, locked the door behind me, and headed out. The bank loomed half a mile down Main Street, its marble facade discreetly lit. The neon sign of the ATM-style access panel glowed blue. Jess was already there, leaning against the wall, phone in hand and a duffel bag by her feet. She waved me over, eyes bright. You ready? I swallowed, walking beside her. As ready as I'll ever be. We approached the kiosk together. A small touchscreen read, Safe Deposit Box Access, Insert Key. Below a slot for the metal key and a fingerprint scanner. We exchanged nervous glances, then I slipped the brass key into the slot. It clicked, and the screen prompted for customer PIN. Jess handed me a slip of paper, a code scrawled in Grandma's notebook. I entered the digits, and our floor area illuminated 4 small boxes, numbered 316 to 319. Mine glowed green. Below the screen read, Enter signature passphrase. Beneath it, I saw a line from Grandma's letter. Live without fear. I pressed the text on the touchscreen. The light above box 317 flashed green. We heard a mechanical whir, and a small compartment door beside the screen swung open. Inside was a sealed envelope stamped with the bank's crest and my grandmother's alias. My breath caught as I retrieved it. This is it, I whispered. Jess peered over my shoulder. Don't open it yet. Check for cameras. I nodded. I scanned the surroundings. No security guards in sight. Only the soft hum of the bank's overnight air conditioning. The street was empty, except for a homeless man asleep on the sidewalk bench. No one to interrupt us. I placed the envelope on top of my bag, eased open the flap, and pulled out a sheaf of papers, legal titles, stock certificates, and a thicker white envelope with For Sarah Magnuson penned in my grandmother's handwriting. My hands shook as I slid that envelope free and slipped it into my pocket. The other documents I bundled back into the box and resealed it, making sure it would return undisturbed once we reinserted the key. Jess gave me a look, equal parts excitement and alarm. You okay? I swallowed. This changes everything. I paused, then pulled out that personal envelope. No turning back now. I slid it open and unfolded the letter inside. My dearest granddaughter, it began. By the time you read this, you will have proved your courage. The company assets in your name are more than money. They represent the culmination of my life's work. Use them wisely, protect them fiercely, and never forget that family is both our strength and our vulnerability. Should you face threats as I did, know you have allies in unexpected places. This letter contains instructions for contacting my most trusted friend, a lawyer whose identity is missing from your mother's files. He will guide you through legal perils and ensure the legacy endures. May you carry our family into a brighter future. I looked up at Jess, tears spilling. We did it. She pulled me into a hug. We did. Under the blue glow of the kiosk, I realized that my mother's final act had entrusted me with more than a company and a secret. It had given me purpose. I was no longer her daughter alone at a deathbed. I was the steward of 3 generations' worth of dreams and resilience. The world felt vast and new, humming with possibility and peril. Tomorrow I would need to enlist that mysterious lawyer, confront my father and sister with the truth, and protect what Grandma had built. But in this moment, with the night around us and the envelope in my pocket, I felt ready to step into my inheritance and, like my grandmother and mother before me, find courage in the face of uncertainty.